and normative economic statements. So the first thing to consider is what is meant by a positive economic statement, and this is a factual or objective statement which can be proved true or false. It is a statement of what is. Examples could be fire is hot. If nurses' salaries were raised, the greater rewards would encourage more people to go into nursing and therefore solve the NHS staff shortage problem. Or the sky is green. Let's have a look at fire is hot. Fire is hot is a positive statement because clearly you can prove it's true or false. If you stick your hand into the fire, you'll be able to tell pretty quickly that fire is hot. Statement number 2. If nurses' salaries were raised, the greater rewards would encourage more people to go into nursing and therefore solve the NHS staff shortage problem. We could prove that is true or false if the salaries were raised and we saw that result, more people going into the NHS. That would prove the statement true. If, however, we did that and more nurses did not join, that would prove the statement false. Whether it's true or false doesn't determine whether something is a positive economic statement or not. It's only that it can be proved true or false. And that's why we have that last example, the sky is green. Clearly the sky is not green. You can go outside, look up and prove to yourself that it is blue or indeed grey, given the weather. But we can prove the sky is not green by going outside. So it doesn't have to be true. It just has to be provable, true or false. And the role of positive economics is that it deals with objective explanations and the testing and rejection of theories, i.e. provable causal relationships. Positive economics is there to cement and justify positions. They identify relationships between economic variables which can be verified by referring to data. One can always be positive about a positive statement. And that then brings us on to normative economic statements. These are value judgments which cannot be proved true or false. They are statements of what ought to be, what should be. A value judgment is an assessment of something in terms of one's own standards or priorities. It is subjective, it is opinionated. To be specific, when we look at this in an exam context in future, you have to be really careful about using the term of value judgment when referring to normative economic statements as opposed to an opinion. An opinion is not sufficient to gain the mark. You have to say it's a value judgment. Examples of normative economic statements would be the government ought to give free school meals to all students. Again, very subjective. It's that ought to that signals what's going on there. That is a normative economic statement. Another example, nurses' salaries should be raised immediately as they do such a good job for the NHS and deserve greater rewards. Again, it's that should, it's that subjective nature of the statement. And the final one, Tottenham Hotspur play the most attractive football in the Premier League. The reason this is normative is because although lots of you might say this is quite clearly untrue, I can watch them, the nature of what makes attractive football is so subjective to one's own opinions that this remains a normative economic statement, even if Tottenham are not doing as well as they have done in the past at the moment. Cool, so the role of normative economic statements then, they're often concerned with ethical issues such as fairness, and they are indicated by words such as should or ought to, etc., etc., and they are often used when considering policy options. Often when we look at these two in conjunction, we see that normative statements tend to be used to give viewpoints, and then economists will try and back up these viewpoints with positive economic statements. It's often actually what we tend to see is that a lot of economic arguments in the real world tend to actually just be political arguments, but backed up with different economic statements, different positive economic statements to support a normative viewpoint. Cool, so this is just a quick video just to explain those two terms. You've all got a few more tasks to get on with for this lesson. Good luck and we'll meet again in a bit.